It's one of those things too. I read something, not everyone is deserving of your story or worth it or worth your time.
She slept in her car for 3 nights with nothing but a few bags of clothes because her apartment had just burned down. She had no money, no backup plan, and no idea that within a year she would be standing on a stage in front of millions of people, crying, holding a microphone, having just become the most famous new voice in America. That girl was Kelly Clarkson. But long before the fame, the Grammys, the multi-million-dollar divorce, and the heartbreaking death of the man she once loved and later fought in court for years, she was just a scared kid from Texas who grew up without a father, slept on friends' couches, and waitressed tables to survive. Her story is one of the most brutal, most inspiring, and most misunderstood journeys in modern pop culture, filled with abandonment, betrayal, lawsuits, secret illness, and a love story that turned into one of the messiest divorces Hollywood has ever watched unfold. So, keep watching as we uncover the entire untold story of Kelly Clarkson, from the broken little girl in Fort Worth, Texas, to the icon she is today.
I think the thing about divorce, that the hardest part of that is like, it wasn't an overnight decision. I'm not the person to be like, oh, well, it never happened or nothing like that. Da, da, da. No, it was beautiful for a minute. You know what I'm saying? It was awesome for a minute. And that's okay. It just didn't work.
Kelly Brianne Clarkson was born on April 24, 1982, in Fort Worth, Texas, to Jean Ann Rose, a first-grade English teacher, and Stephen Michael Clarkson, an engineer. She was the youngest of 3 children, with an older brother named Jason and an older sister named Alyssa. On paper, it looked like an ordinary American family. But when Kelly was only 6 years old, that family shattered. Her parents divorced, and in the chaos that followed, the 3 siblings were split apart like pieces of furniture being divided in a garage sale. Jason went to live with their father. Alyssa was sent to live with an aunt, and Kelly stayed behind with her mother in Texas. They didn't grow up together. They didn't share bedrooms, birthdays, or bad days. They became 3 separate lives that happened to share the same blood. What hurt Kelly the most wasn't just the divorce itself, it was what happened afterward. Her father essentially disappeared from her life. He didn't call. He didn't show up. And as a little girl desperate for her dad's attention, she tried, again and again, to reach out to him as she got older, only to be met with rejection every single time. She has described those attempts as humiliating, the kind of pain that doesn't just sting in the moment, but quietly reshapes how a person learns to trust for the rest of their life. Her mother eventually remarried a man named Jimmy Taylor, and the family settled into a modest working-class life in Burleson, Texas, a small suburb just outside Fort Worth. Money was tight. Her mother moved the family around frequently just to keep steady work, and faith became one of the few constants in young Kelly's world. The Clarksons were devout Southern Baptists, and Kelly has said she practically grew up inside a church building, attending services on Sundays and Wednesdays, leading her youth group, and finding in religion a kind of stability that her home life couldn't always offer. Nobody in that little church or that small Texas town had any idea they were sitting next to a future global superstar. As a child, Kelly didn't dream of music videos or sold-out arenas. She actually wanted to become a marine biologist, a dream she later admitted was crushed the moment she watched the movie Jaws. Singing wasn't even on her radar until the 7th grade, when she was a student at Pauline Hughes Middle School. One day, she was simply walking through the school hallway, singing to herself the way bored kids do, when the school's choir teacher, a woman named Cynthia Glenn, overheard her voice and stopped dead in her tracks. She asked Kelly to audition for the school choir on the spot. Kelly was stunned. She had never taken a single vocal lesson in her life. But that one hallway moment changed everything. She joined the choir, started performing in school musicals like Annie Get Your Gun and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and slowly built a reputation as the girl with the freakishly powerful voice. By the time she graduated from Burleson High School in the year 2000, Kelly's talent had become impossible to ignore. She was offered full-ride scholarships to some of the most respected music programs in the country, including the University of Texas at Austin, the University of North Texas, and the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston. Most teenagers in her position would have taken the safe route and gone to college. Kelly turned every single scholarship down. She had already written a mountain of original songs by that point and felt, in her gut, that she didn't need a classroom to tell her she could sing. So, in 2001, fresh out of high school, she packed her things and moved to Los Angeles to chase a music career on pure instinct and hope. Los Angeles chewed her up and spit her right back out. She auditioned for record labels and got rejected over and over. She was even offered contracts at one point by labels like Jive Records and Interscope, but turned them down because she felt they were trying to box her into a bubblegum pop mold that didn't feel like her. To survive while chasing her dream, she worked as a waitress, a telemarketer, and even a promotional girl for Red Bull, handing out energy drink samples just to scrape together rent money. Then, disaster struck. Her apartment caught fire. She lost almost everything she owned and was left with no place to live. For 3 nights, with nowhere else to turn, Kelly Clarkson slept inside her car. After months of grinding with nothing to show for it, she finally gave up on Hollywood, at least for the moment, and moved back home to Texas, defeated. It was back in Texas, in early 2002, that a friend told her about a brand new reality singing competition launching on Fox called American Idol. Nobody knew what the show would become. Kelly herself has said she had barely any idea what the show even was until her 3rd round of auditions. Her mindset wasn't about chasing stardom. It was painfully practical. She figured that if she made it far enough, she could at least pay her electric bill. She auditioned in Dallas, Texas, singing Aretha Franklin's Respect, and was selected as one of the 30 finalists from her city. As the competition rolled on week after week, judges Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul, and Randy Jackson watched a girl who, in Simon's own later admission, didn't seem like anything special in her earliest appearances. She was just a girl with a good voice, nothing more, in his eyes at the time. But week by week, something shifted. Her humor, her humility, and a jaw-dropping performance of Aretha Franklin's A Natural Woman started winning over both the judges and the entire country, watching from their living rooms. On September 4th, 2002, Kelly Clarkson made history. She went head-to-head with runner-up Justin Guarini and won the very first season of American Idol, capturing 58% of the public vote. As the confetti fell, she stood on that stage in tears and sang the song written specifically for the Idol champion, A Moment Like This. It wasn't just an emotional performance, it became a genuine phenomenon. The song shot from number 52 straight to number 1 on the Billboard charts in record-breaking time, a record that, remarkably, still stands today. She walked away from that competition with a $1 million recording contract and a level of fame she had never asked for and barely understood yet. Her first studio album, Thankful, dropped in 2003 and debuted at number 1, eventually going double platinum thanks to the breakout single, Miss Independent. But success came with friction almost immediately. Behind the scenes, Kelly clashed hard with music industry legend Clive Davis, who ran her label at the time. Kelly wanted to write and record her own material. Clive wanted her singing songs penned by outside professional songwriters who had a track record of hits. The disagreement got so heated that Kelly publicly called Clive and people at her label liars at one point, before later softening her stance and acknowledging his role in her early success. It was an early glimpse into something that would define her entire career. Kelly Clarkson refusing to simply be a puppet, even when the people pulling the strings had far more power than she did. Then came 2004, and the album that changed everything, Breakaway. It marked a sharp turn away from the bubblegum pop of her debut and into a grittier, rock-influenced sound that felt like it belonged entirely to her. The album sold more than 11 million copies worldwide and produced an avalanche of hits, including Because of You, Behind These Hazel Eyes, and the song that would become her signature anthem forever, Since You Been Gone. What most fans didn't realize at the time was how personal Because of You actually was. Kelly had written it at just 16 years old, years before fame, as a direct response to her father's abandonment. The lyrics processed the fear of repeating her parents' broken patterns, the inability to trust, and the quiet devastation of growing up without a dad who wanted to be there. At the 2006 Grammy Awards, Breakaway and Since You Been Gone earned her 2 Grammy wins for Best Pop Vocal Album and Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, making her the very first American Idol alum in history to win a Grammy. Rather than chase the same successful formula, Kelly went in a riskier, more rock-oriented direction with her third album, My December, released in 2007. She co-wrote every single track herself, and the record was raw, moody, and far more confessional than anything she'd released before. It sparked more tension with her label, who reportedly wanted something more radio-friendly and commercial. Kelly pushed back hard, insisting on creative control over her own art, even if it meant a public battle with the very label that had launched her career. It was a costly fight in some ways, but it cemented her reputation as an artist who would rather risk failure than surrender her voice, literally and figuratively. She bounced back commercially in 2009 with All I Ever Wanted, powered by the massive hit My Life Would Suck Without You, which broke her own chart record by leaping from 97 all the way to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in a single week. 2 years later, in 2011, she released Stronger, an album that gave the world Stronger, What Doesn't Kill You, and Mr. Know-It-All. The title track became an unofficial anthem for anyone climbing out of heartbreak, and it earned Kelly her 3rd Grammy at the 2013 ceremony for Best Pop Vocal Album. By her late 20s, she had already become one of the defining voices of an entire generation, with more Grammy nominations in the pop vocal categories than almost anyone in history. While her music career was thriving, something quieter was happening in her personal life that would eventually become the most talked-about chapter of her entire story. Back in 2006, during rehearsals for the Academy of Country Music Awards, Kelly crossed paths with a man named Brandon Blackstock. At the time, he was working as a tour manager under his father, the powerful talent manager Narvel Blackstock, who happened to run Starstruck Entertainment, the same management company that would later guide Kelly's career. Nothing romantic happened between them back then. Brandon was married to his first wife, Melissa Ashworth, with whom he had 2 children, Savannah and Seth, in a marriage that lasted from 2001 to 2012. It wasn't until 2012, after Brandon's divorce from Melissa, that he and Kelly crossed paths again, this time at the Super Bowl. Sparks flew almost immediately. Brandon also happened to be the stepson of country music royalty Reba McEntire, who had been married to Narvel Blackstock for years, giving Kelly's future relationship an unusual extra layer of country music family ties. Their romance moved fast. In December 2012, Kelly announced her engagement to Brandon on social media, calling it the happiest night of her life. They were married on October 20th, 2013, at the picturesque Blackberry Farm in Tennessee. Exactly 1 month later, Kelly announced she was pregnant with their first child. Their daughter, River Rose, was born on June 12, 2014. Their son, Remington Alexander, followed on April 12, 2016. Kelly also became a stepmother to Brandon's 2 children from his previous marriage, instantly expanding her world from a girl who grew up fractured by divorce into the matriarch of a large blended family. Here's where the story takes its first major turn toward complication. Brandon Blackstock didn't just become Kelly's husband, he became her manager too, taking over the professional guidance of her career through Starstruck Entertainment. He was deeply involved behind the scenes in pushing her toward new opportunities, including encouraging her to launch her own daytime talk show. When the Kelly Clarkson Show premiered on September 9, 2019, Brandon served as an executive producer on it. On the surface, it looked like the perfect power couple, a husband and wife building an empire side by side. But underneath, cracks were forming. Sources close to the couple later revealed that working together constantly, non-stop, blurred every boundary between their marriage and their business, and it slowly became one of the biggest sources of tension between them. Kelly had also been open about wanting more children, while Brandon reportedly did not share that desire, adding another layer of strain to a relationship that was already buckling under the weight of money, power, and round-the-clock professional entanglement. On June 4, 2020, after nearly 7 years of marriage, Kelly Clarkson filed for divorce from Brandon Blackstock, citing irreconcilable differences. What followed wasn't a quiet, amicable split. It became one of the messiest, most expensive, and most public legal battles in recent celebrity history. Just months later, in September 2020, Brandon and his father's company, Starstruck Entertainment, filed a lawsuit against Kelly, alleging she owed the company unpaid commissions from deals they had brokered for her. Kelly fired back by filing a petition with the California Labor Commission, arguing that Brandon had acted illegally as her manager under California's Talent Agencies Act, a law that restricts who is legally allowed to collect commissions on procuring work for an artist. This wasn't just a breakup anymore. It had become a full-blown legal war over millions of dollars, and the question of whether the man she married had been operating outside the law the entire time he managed her career. In November 2020, the court awarded Kelly primary physical custody of their 2 children, with Brandon receiving visitation rights, while both parents retained joint legal custody. The divorce itself wasn't finalized until March 2022, nearly 2 full years after she initially filed. The financial terms of that settlement were staggering. Kelly walked away with their Montana ranch properties, their California residence, the family pets, and several vehicles. In exchange, she was ordered to pay Brandon a one-time lump sum of $1,326,161. On top of that, she was required to pay him spousal support, starting at $150,000 a month, later reduced to $115,000 a month, set to run until January 31, 2024. She also had to pay $45,601 every single month in child support until River and Remington each turn 18, plus an additional $350,000 specifically allocated for the children's private air travel. Brandon, for his part, was required to pay rent on the properties he continued living in until he moved out by June 1, 2022. If you think the drama ended there, it didn't. The commission dispute between Kelly and Brandon dragged on for years after the divorce was finalized. In November 2023, A California labor commissioner finally ruled in Kelly's favor, determining that Brandon had indeed overstepped his legal boundaries as her manager and ordered him to return $2,641,374 in commissions back to her. Brandon appealed the decision, and a trial was actually scheduled for August 2024 to settle the matter once and for all. But in May 2024, in a surprising turn, both sides quietly agreed to drop the case entirely, finally closing the book on years of bitter legal fighting between two people who had once stood at an altar in Tennessee promising forever. Throughout this entire ordeal, Kelly was remarkably candid about how badly the divorce shook her. She admitted in a 2023 interview that she did not handle the separation well at all, describing sessions with friends where she was crying so hard she couldn't even speak, even before the official separation had taken place. She also made it clear, on her own talk show, that she had no interest in ever getting married again, explaining that she had already experienced real love once and wasn't out searching for a stepfather for her children. And in true Kelly Clarkson fashion, she let some of that pain bleed straight into her music. During her 2023 Las Vegas residency performances, she rewrote the lyrics of her own song, Piece by Piece, a track originally written as a hopeful tribute to Brandon, as the kind of present, loving father her own dad never was. Standing on stage, she flipped the meaning entirely, replacing lyrics that once praised him with new lines celebrating her own strength and her own ability to take care of herself and her children, regardless of who walked away. In December 2023, Kelly released her 10th studio album, Chemistry, and it told the entire emotional arc of her relationship with Brandon from beginning to end, moving through every stage from raw anger to eventual acceptance. The album earned her a 6th Grammy nomination for Best Pop Vocal Album, making her the most nominated artist in that category's history, even though, to date, she still holds 3 total Grammy wins. While the marriage and its aftermath were falling apart in court, her professional life was somehow thriving in parallel. She became a beloved coach on NBC's The Voice, won Daytime Emmy after Daytime Emmy for hosting her talk show, and in 2023 made the bold decision to relocate The Kelly Clarkson Show from Los Angeles to New York City, later admitting that she had been deeply unhappy living in California for years and desperately needed a fresh start for her own mental health. That move to New York coincided with one of the biggest personal transformations of her adult life. In 2018, years earlier, Kelly had already revealed she was dealing with an autoimmune disorder and a thyroid issue, managing it for a time through a strict lectin-free diet that eliminated legumes, grains, dairy, and certain vegetables from her meals. But by January 2024, she revealed something new on her own show. She had been diagnosed as pre-diabetic. She wasn't shocked by the news, she admitted, since she knew she was carrying extra weight. But she still let 2 more years pass before she finally decided to take action. In May 2024, she went public about using a weight loss medication to help manage the issue, clarifying that it was not Ozempic, as most people assumed, but a different drug aimed at helping her body process sugar correctly. She revealed her doctor had been pushing her to try it for nearly 2 years, while she resisted out of fear, given her existing thyroid problems. She also revealed, candidly, that at her heaviest she weighed 203 pounds, and that the moment of true realization came while watching back a taped birthday episode of her show at home, pausing the screen and barely recognizing the woman she saw. Combined with her move to New York, where simply walking around the city became a built-in form of daily exercise, a high-protein diet, infrared sauna sessions, and eventually cold plunges, Kelly went on to lose more than 60 pounds over the following 2 years, all while remaining refreshingly honest that she had never actually felt insecure while heavier. She simply hadn't seen it clearly until that one paused frame forced her to. Then, in 2025, the story took its most heartbreaking turn yet. Unknown to most of the public, Brandon Blackstock had privately been battling melanoma, an aggressive and dangerous form of skin cancer, for more than 3 years. He kept the diagnosis almost entirely out of the spotlight, with only a tight circle of family aware of how serious it had become. On August 6, 2025, Kelly broke her usual silence about her personal life, announcing on social media that she was postponing the remaining dates of her Las Vegas residency because, as she put it, her children's father had become ill and she needed to be fully present for them. Just one single day later, on August 7, 2025, Brandon Blackstock passed away peacefully at his home in Butte, Montana, surrounded by his family and under hospice care. He was only 48 years old. The coroner later confirmed his official cause of death as malignant melanoma, with seizures listed as a contributing condition. He left behind 4 children in total: Savannah, Seth, River, and Remington, along with 2 grandchildren. What made this moment so emotionally complicated for fans watching from the outside was the sheer contrast between the bitterness of their years-long legal war and the quiet grace Kelly showed at the very end. According to people close to her, once she learned how sick Brandon truly was, she became fiercely protective of him, not for her own sake, but for the sake of their children. She reportedly never spoke poorly about him in front of River and Remington throughout the entire ordeal, choosing instead to keep things as classy and as stable as possible despite everything they had been through in courtrooms over money, commissions, and custody. One source close to her described the divorce years as messy and painful for Kelly, something she genuinely felt terrible about, even as she remained determined to give her kids the best possible relationship with their father, for however long he had left. Remarkably, despite the devastating personal loss, Kelly returned to film season 29 of The Voice less than 2 weeks after Brandon's death, stepping back into her coach's chair for the show's premiere in February 2026. But the toll of everything, the divorce, the years of litigation, and now the loss of her children's father, clearly weighed on her priorities going forward. On February 2nd, 2026, Kelly announced that The Kelly Clarkson Show would officially end after its 7th season, with final episodes airing through the fall of 2026. In her own words, stepping away from the grueling daily schedule of a daytime talk show would finally allow her to prioritize her kids, something she described as necessary and right for this next chapter of her life. She made it clear it wasn't a goodbye to the industry entirely, promising fans she would still release music, perform live, and continue popping up on The Voice from time to time. Over its remarkable 7-season run, The Kelly Clarkson Show had collected an astonishing 24 Daytime Emmy Awards, including 4 consecutive wins for both Outstanding Entertainment Talk Show Host and Outstanding Talk Show Entertainment, cementing it as one of the most successful and beloved daytime programs of its era. So thanks for watching the video, and we will see you in the next video.